And welcome into the RO Sports Show, brought to you tonight by First Health of the Carolinas and McNair Auto Sales. We appreciate our sponsors, and we're glad to be back. The original cast joining me again in studio this week. To my right, Russell Parker, and of course Jeremy McKenzie, and columnist and writer of Matter of Opinion, the weekly column on RichmondObserver.com, which released in yesterday's edition. We'll wish you a happy Thursday. So, guys, let's get right to it, and let me start by saying there's one man in here that really should be happy this week. Super Bowl 52, this past Sunday, only one of us picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and that man is Jeremy McKenzie. So we'll give you the first word tonight. How does it feel to be the man on top here at the RO Sports Show tonight?
Well, Mr. Jenkins, it's always good to see a NFC team beat the New England Patriots.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Jesus. It really is. We look at the Super Bowl from this past Sunday. It was great, one of the great Super Bowls for the ages, going to be taught for years to come. And I'm proud of Nick Foles for delivering on the field like he's supposed to.
Yeah.
All defense did his job, special teams did his job. We also would like to congratulate our Richmond County's own, my classmate, Dannell Ellaby, for winning his second Super Bowl. And we just like to also congratulate the rest of the team for as much success from Coach Doug Peterson and the rest of the staff and from the ownership. We pray much success on your behalf, and I always say, if I don't care who wins the Super Bowl, as long as it ain't the Patriots or the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you're in luck this year. Of course, the Eagles win. But let me ask you this: you're the only one that picked the Eagles.
Yes, okay? Sir.
And I forgot what the score you predicted was.
I had predicted the score on 24-21.
Was that right? Okay, so
yes,
you're
sir.
A little under, but that's okay. You still picked it. You got it more. Certainly got it more correct than the rest of us. But
yes.
I want to ask you this: did you really think the Eagles were going to win, or are you just going against the rest of us?
I was a little bit optimistic at the time because we're looking at the New England Patriots, who has been to multiple Super Bowls. They're used to this stage. And when the Philadelphia Eagles, who was known to be an underdog in this game, and they pretty much was like, okay, we got to bring our A game today. We're playing against number 12, Tom Brady, in the New England Patriots. They already know what to do, what they're capable of doing. So we got to come in with the mentality, hey, if we want to beat the Patriots, we got to beat them in their own game.
Yeah, and they did.
And they did.
And Nick Foles had talking about Nick Foles, talking about a guy who had a great game.
Yeah, had 337 yards.
Yeah.
And was named Super Bowl MVP in that game, who was a number 2 quarterback, replaced Carson Wentz after he went down with a torn ACL. And during that time, we didn't know how the Philadelphia Eagles were going to pan out during the rest of the season, but it has proven that Nick Foles carried the team on his shoulders, and he did a very good job.
He certainly did, and the Eagles got the job done. Now, Matt, you and I agree that the Patriots, we couldn't bet against the Patriots,
right.
But your assessment of the game, obviously now looking back, we had it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, you can't bet against Tom Brady. We didn't. What do you think happened for the Eagles to make this work and win the Super Bowl?
Well, first of all, I want to say that unlike Jeremy here as a Redskins fan, I don't pray for any more success for the Eagles. With that being said, yeah, I mean, we said it in the show last week that Tom Brady's the man, Bill Belichick's the man. This organization has been there before. They know exactly what they're doing. And the Eagles just completely proved us wrong. There was absolutely no defense that was played.
No,
I think
this game.
They broke the record for most combined yards, not only in a Super Bowl game, not only in a playoff game, but for an NFL game, period, in history, which I think is just amazing. Brady threw for 505 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And still lost.
That's
so,
right.
That kind of tells you the tale of the tale. But with that being said, congratulations to the Eagles. Hopefully another NFC East team can get there next year.
Just not them.
Just not them.
Or NFC South.
Or the Cowboys. I'll give you that one, too.
Yeah, we'll take this NFC South. We'll take that.
We'll take Carolina Panthers, too.
Sure.
And talking about the Cowboys, I doubt you see them anytime soon.
Right. Well, I have too many Cowboy friends out there, so to talk too much trash. But, like you guys said, Foles was great. I thought that Doug Peterson's play calling was, I guess, brazen is the best word for it, or the best word that we can use here on the show. But, where they threw the pass to Foles, he completed his. As we know now, Tom Brady didn't. That could have been maybe one of those momentum shifts. You don't really know. But, again, like I said, congratulations to the Eagles. And I'm sure Dannell and his family and all the Philadelphia Eagle fans out there are very excited.
Well, you talk about a performance from a guy who didn't win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, you said, thrown over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns in a losing performance. Now, something went wrong there.
Yes.
And, of course, we talk about no defense being played. But, Russell, let me ask you a question. Now, everybody knows Russell's an Alabama fan. I actually saw you post something during the Super Bowl about how one team had a lot of Auburn guys, one team had a lot of Alabama guys. And if I remember correctly, it was Philadelphia that had Alabama guys.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I was saying all night, roll Eagles.
So
yeah, I was all for it.
That's a combination of a lot. That's an oxymoron right there. Yeah.
But yeah, I certainly I know they had a lot of SEC players on either team, but Alabama had like one player who actually was successful, has won a national championship under Nick Saban, and went on to win the Super Bowl. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Of course, a big game it was. Talk to you about a couple other things before we move on from Super Bowl 52. Maybe it's too early to tell, but are the Patriots back in the Super Bowl representing the AFC next year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so because they already be the pick for next year's Super Bowl, despite the loss.
I think they were actually like the highest on the betting thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's
very
a simple formula. If Kraft's still there, if Tom Brady's still there, if Belichick's still there, they got to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite. As long
Yes.
as they are sustaining success, I don't see who else is going to knock them off.
Well, and let me ask you this. Of course, nobody – first off, one, nobody started the season picking the Eagles. Two, once Carson Wentz
did.
Well, that's right. Martin Truex Jr. did. Yeah, that's right. But he's an Eagles fan. So, I mean, of course, I said the Panthers were going to make the Super Bowl.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I'm sure you did too. But talking about where you talk about Bill Belichick and do you think that Doug Peterson outcoached Belichick in this game?
I think that not only did Doug Peterson outcoach Belichick, but I thought Foles outplayed Brady.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't necessarily show in the stats,
Right.
but, I mean, obviously they won the game, so
Yes.
he had to be the better of the two quarterbacks. And I think he was more clutch. When it was time to be clutch, Foles made the throws. I remember seeing a ton of throws that I thought, man, how did he fit that ball in there?
Yeah.
He floated one over Alshon Jeffrey's head that only he could have caught for a touchdown. Or the one where he spit the ball in there real quick to tight end Zach Ertz on the goal line, which I was afraid for a moment they were going to call that back, but of course we know they didn't. But yeah, I think both Peterson and Foles both outcoached and outplayed their counterparts.
Jeremy, you agree with that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And Belichick is not a guy you outcoach often.
Right.
No.
But he's a great coach. Turned 66 this year, I think, and in the next few months, I think. And that leads me to another subject. Talking about Super Bowl 52, you can't avoid the fact that many people thought this would be Josh McDaniels' last game as the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. For weeks now, it's been expected that just as soon as the Super Bowl was over, that the Colts would name Josh McDaniels their head coach formally and formally introduce him. Usually it's customary for the team to wait until that coach is done coaching for the season, and of course McDaniels coached in the Super Bowl. So here we are 22 days out from when that news came out. Yesterday, it was said that he's expected to be announced formally on Wednesday.
Yes.
I wake up this morning, I'm getting my days mixed up, yesterday morning, and I look on Good Morning Sand Hills looking at the news trying to prepare. Josh McDaniels is staying put with New England. Now, my question is, first and foremost, Josh, there's a lot that's happened from this. One, his agent said, "I'm done with you." McDaniels hadn't had the prettiest head coach in history in the NFL,
No.
and now this stint makes him look like less of a plausible candidate moving forward. So my question for you guys is this: Josh McDaniels not going to the Colts, he's staying with the New England Patriots. Is this a sign that Josh McDaniels is the heir to Bill Belichick's throne?
I would say yes. That was the point that I was going to make. Just what I got through saying about how as long as Brady, Kraft, and Belichick are there, they're going to be a great team. I think the continuity that would be there if McDaniels were to take over for Belichick would allow them to keep that going in case Brady's still playing and Belichick retires. McDaniels, like you said, he coached for the Broncos a couple years. It didn't turn out very well for him. Something that I read was the Patriots, when they found out that the Colts were interested in him, actually in the last few days, they sat him down and offered him more money. I think that's one of the things that drew him back to New England, as well as possibly being the successor. And, you don't know what you're going to get with Andrew Luck with the Colts.
That's true.
With Patriots, you know what you have. It's an established running game, passing game, offense in general, defense, the entire organization. Whereas with the Colts, you're almost going to be starting over if you're McDaniels. You're going to have, maybe you're going to have Andrew Luck. You don't know. Maybe he requires more surgery. Then you're stuck with either Brissett or some other guy under center. So I think there's a couple factors that could decide that decided for McDaniels whether he would go to Indianapolis or not.
Yeah. Jeremy, what's your take on this? I mean, do you think that McDaniels is the heir apparent?
I believe he is, because if you look at the history of Josh McDaniels being under Brian Belichick, much success. The stats of Tom Brady is well spoken and very heard of. But if he went to the Colts, more likely you start from fresh, because you're looking at number 12 Andrew Luck pretty much having surgery, and then your weapons around you offensively you pretty much don't have at this time. So you're going to, it's like a repeat what he did when he went to Denver a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But at the time you had a quarterback in Tim Tebow. So, and then at the same time you had Kyle Orton as well. So you had a 2-quarterback system, but with the coach you already have a franchise guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you already have a all-pro wide receiver in T.Y. Hilton. And then pretty much your defense was pretty solid to a degree, but very ranked dead last in points allowed.
Yeah.
So if you're going, but the best, and I think to the degree where Josh McDaniels looking at, okay, this is what's going to be. Do I want to take a coaching job where I got to rebuild, or stay here, being offensive coordinator for the Patriots where I can have much success? And then learning from one of the best coaches in NFL history to pretty much be ready for it when the time comes.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the trouble is that the Colts were led on to believe that this was going to happen, and then just like that, it didn't. I think it'd been a lot fairer to the Indianapolis Colts if this decision had been made earlier.
And if I could just take a moment and read off the guys that the Colts actually interviewed in addition to Josh McDaniels. That was Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who has since taken the Chicago Bears job.
That's right.
Yes.
Texans D coordinator Mike Vrabel, who is also under the Belichick tree.
Former Patriot.
He's gone to be the Tennessee Titans head coach. The Panthers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks was interviewed by the Colts. We of course know he's going to the Arizona Cardinals to coach them.
Yeah.
Baylor coach Matt Rule said he's going to remain at the school, and Seahawks defensive coordinator Chris Richard actually took a job with the Dallas Cowboys. So not only do the Colts lose McDaniels, but they don't really have someone to come in that they've looked at already and interviewed to take his place.
Yeah. That's right. A pretty bad situation. And Russell, we talked about talking about Belichick. Do you think that McDaniels is? It seems to be all agreeing right now, because I agree with you. I think McDaniels is the heir apparent. Do you think he's the next guy in line for the New England Patriots coaching job?
I think he would be, assuming if he goes back to if he's staying with Patriots. I think certainly, but my opinion, I think I would actually go with the Colts. I'm gonna go with the odd man out here and go with the Colts here, because it's a chance for you to have your own legacy, build your own legacy here. With the Patriots, you know what you already got, but Brady ain't going to be there forever. So when Brady goes away, what are you going to do then? So going to the Colts, you can find some younger guys who are already who are not going to be expected to be on Brady talent, build them up. Maybe form your own version of Brady in the Colts. So,
well, that's actually a good point, because Brady's going to retire. Gronk's even, we don't know what's going to happen, but Gronk wasn't real clear on his retirement. No. So you got to wonder, are these, by the time McDaniels would inherit this team, is Belichick going to leave him with much? Who knows?
Right, and you never know. If he had taken the Colts job, if you get Andrew Luck back, a healthy franchise quarterback, you got, like you said, you got T.Y. Hilton, you got a young but stable defense. And in this upcoming draft, the Colts actually have 7 draft picks. So if he'd have taken the job, at least he'd have some foundation to build on.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing before we go to break, too. You got now the Colts are in a situation where everybody knows they didn't get their guy. Right. The next guy knows they didn't get their guy. And now, like you said, the list is exhausted. Mm-hmm. What do you do from here? Any indication at all what the Colts do from here at this point?
Yes.
I don't know, because like you said earlier, most teams have solidified who's going to be on their coaching staffs by now.
Yes.
So I don't know if maybe they go back to the coaching ranks in college and look at maybe some of those guys. I don't even know who that would be, because most of those positions have settled as well. I wish I had even a suggestion as to who they should talk to, but right now I really don't know.
I don't know that I do.
No, because we're looking at it right now. We pretty much in the next few weeks, the owner Jim Irsay will pretty much start interviewing people again for the coach job. But the list pretty much is going to be very dim when he starts doing it.
It is, unfortunately. You look at, I compared this today in conversation and yesterday when all this news came out. I've compared this in conversation to the Tennessee Volunteers. What an ugly coaching search that they had. And everybody, I mean, they went through about 8 people. All of them knew that there was somebody before them, and that has a morale effect. But the Colts did everything right here, and look, they're at the same situation that the Volunteers were in college level, and now they've got to start from scratch.
And on top of all that, John Gruden, who is usually a name that always pops up, obviously has a job as well.
That's
so
right.
We'll be going to Indy there.
That's exactly right, and it's a frustrating position
Yes.
for the Colts to be having a lot of fun, folks. But we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the NFL Hall of Famers that are going to be inducted in 2018 class, and there are some very notable names on that list. We'll be talking about them, and we'll also be talking about the NBA trade deadline, which passed earlier today. We will bring you all the news on that coming up right after these messages. You're watching the RO Sports Show, or you're listening to the RO Sports Show right here on the Classic Rock.
At Richmond Community College, we prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
Exit Realty Platinum in Rockingham has listed one of the most beautiful homes in Richmond County. Located in Rockingham on Ledbetter Lake, the home features 4 bedrooms with bamboo floors and a kitchen featuring stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and a master bedroom that overlooks Ledbetter Lake, along with a spacious tile shower and the attached master bathroom. The open living space leads to the back deck with a perfect view of Ledbetter Lake, and the property features its own boat dock. Want to see this beautiful home? Call Nicole Hayden with Exit Realty Platinum, your source for homes in Richmond and Moore counties. And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health of the Carolinas and McNair Auto Sales tonight. We appreciate our sponsors, and we're back now. Talked about Super Bowl so far, and we talked also about the Josh McDaniels situation, chaotic situation, if you will. But now talk about the NFL Hall of Fame. Some big names going into the Hall of Fame this year. And one of those guys is Randy Moss. I certainly think he's deserving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah, so this was, and of course, was this his first year eligible?
It was.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so that's got to be a big honor.
Yeah.
To go in on his first year eligible.
Yeah, matter of fact, Ray Lewis, Randy Moss, and I think Brian Urlacher were the 3. This is their first year being on the ballot. And then, of course, this was Brian Dawkins' second year and Terrell Owens' third year trying to get on. So,
but he's on. T.O. is on.
Yes.
He is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, is that one deserving?
Yes. I look at Terrell Owens. You look back at his career when he was drafted 3rd round of the 96 NFL draft from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We look at a guy who took the world by storm, pretty much in the position that he plays. But despite all the off the field and his attitude, but on that field, he brought it with him.
Yeah. And do you think that
Very dominant.
Do you think that off the field stuff and then the kind of baggage, do you think that should affect his ability to get into Hall of Fame?
I did for a while, I believe.
Yeah.
For a while.
Well, that'll bring up an interesting conversation here in a minute. Sorry, Matt.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think that anything T.O. did off the field would have warranted not putting him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers.
Yes.
And I treat it as, I know a little bit more about baseball than I do football. But when I look at a guy, my gut instinct usually tells me whether I think he's a Hall of Famer or not right off the bat. And you look at T.O., and I know he's had a lot of antics, with the celebrations and getting in fights with his quarterbacks. But, I mean, all you got to do is look at the guy on the field, look at his stats, and to me it was a no-brainer for him to get in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely has had a successful career. No doubt
Yes,
about that.
even with the 49ers, even with from 49ers to the Eagles, from the Eagles to the Dallas Cowboys, to Buffalo, to Cincinnati. He even had a little run for a little bit with the Seattle Seahawks.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about that.
He got a tryout coming with the Seattle Seahawks. He had a couple games where he caught some balls and everything, and then if he would have made the he was cut during the 53-man roster was set. But if he would have stayed on the Seattle Seahawks for that remainder of the season, that would have been the season that Seattle would have won the Super Bowl.
You think so? Wow.
Yeah.
And looking at a couple stats here to back T.O. up, he is 8th all-time in receptions with 1,078 receptions.
Yes.
He's 2nd all-time in yards. He's had almost 16,000 receiving yards in his career. And he's 3rd overall in touchdowns with 153. And here's a quick little stat for you. He's the only player to score a touchdown against each of the current 32 teams.
All right. So my question is, why did it take this? You hear those stats right there? Why did it take this long on a third ballot for this guy to get in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think because, all the stuff we just talked about, the off-the-field antics that he's been known for, I don't agree with that. I'm a guy that thinks, as long as you aren't doing anything illegal off the field, getting in trouble all the time, that sort of thing, none of that should have any bearing whatsoever on getting in the Hall of Fame.
Well, of course, I think it has. I think that's one of the reasons that, I'm not saying it should, but I think that's one of the reasons that T.O. didn't get into. You talk about Hall of Fame, and I hate to get off topic, but we're talking about Hall of Famers here. Talk about a guy that did something off the field that has affected his ability to get in the Hall of Fame, and that's Pete Rose.
Sure.
Okay, so now as closely associated as what he did in gambling on the game, though he says he never bet against his team, okay, and that may be the case, but Pete Rose, it's absolutely what he did off the field that's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame, because look at what he did on the field. We're talking about a guy who was diving head first during the All-Star game. I mean, we got a guy here who is passionate for the game. He gambles on the game, says he never bet against the Reds, and of course he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he's never going to be in the Hall of Fame, most likely.
You don't think so?
Well, I personally would like to see Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame,
too.
but he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. No, I don't think so. I don't think they'll ever get over that. And if they do, he'll be dead and gone by the time they do it.
And that may be the thing that has to happen before somebody lets him in.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry to cut you off, but I think the difference between he and T.O. is Pete Rose was gambling on the game. Now, he says, yes, he may not have been betting on Reds games, but he's admitted that he was betting on some games in the major leagues. And to me, that is kind of puts the game in a crisis, because you don't know if all the other games are rigged, if someone has control over who scores and who doesn't score. I know baseball is a little more difficult to control that. But I think that's when all the conspiracy theorists will start coming out and saying, who else is betting on the game? Who else is going to profit from this certain team winning the World Series or just winning a single game? So I think that's why, at least in baseball, why the MLB Hall of Fame people refuse to let him in.
Yeah, well, they probably will, like you said, until he's dead and gone. And I hate that, because I think I like Pete Rose. I think that Pete made a mistake. I talk like he's a friend, but he made a mistake. He did. There's no doubt about that. But I think I look at some of the things that have happened in sports. I think to myself, if he did not bet against his team, there's no doubt that his talent was worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. And getting back to T.O., I think his talent was undoubtedly worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. My opinion, should have been in on the first ballot, but hey, he's in now, and forget about how many ballots it's been.
He's also on the best video game cover of football games too.
Really? What's that?
NFL 2K5. That is better than any Madden game that'll ever come out.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't played Madden so long. Good gracious. But I mean, hey, it's still a big deal. Madden's been out for
About
almost as
2005.
old as I am.
the man had been out since 1998.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was before that.
Oh, yeah, I did too. I thought it was since the early '90s at least.
Well, they had the.
I'm going from go from back to PlayStation 2s and all the way down.
Yeah,
Sega had their own version of it.
Yeah.
I had ESPN broadcasts and all that stuff. It was awesome. I love 2K.
Talking about video games, I used to have Super Nintendo. I'd play. Oh gosh, that game! You could throw a pass and the ball would go out the end zone and it'd just freeze up and everybody would still be moving. You'd have to reset the thing to get it back on. That's when I was playing football games. But so you were going to say something, Matt?
I was just going to go back to some of the other guys that were in the Hall of Fame for the NFL this year.
Yes.
In my opinion, and I want to get your guys' take on this, Ray Lewis is the best player of this class.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is he's a 13-time Pro Bowler. He's won the Defensive Player of the Year twice. He's also been the Super Bowl MVP when the Ravens won, 15, 16, 17 years ago. I think it was 2000.
That's right, yeah.
He started 227 games at the linebacker position. That should tell you all you need to know about his durability. And he's also had 8 100 tackle seasons. So I think the stats speak for themselves as a guy that's one of the all-time greats, not only from the linebacker position, from defense overall.
Yeah, yes. He's a great, great player. And he was a Baltimore Raven. And since I can't stand the Pittsburgh Steelers, I really like Ray Lewis. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, we look at Ray Lewis at his career. Stats speak for themselves. Overall, a great person. And always a presence in the locker room will make other guys on the defensive side make them better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you look at the history of the linebacker corps of Baltimore Ravens, you look from guys who he tutored, Peter Bulwer to Terrell Suggs to C.J. Mosley and all of those guys. They learned from and Danielle Elby, who played under Ray Lewis. They learned from one of the best teachers in all NFL history.
No doubt about that. He was a leader.
Veteran leader.
No doubt about that on the football field, for sure. Ray Lewis, and I actually agree with you. I think Ray Lewis is probably the best in that class.
Yes.
There's some big names in that class. Randy Moss, T.O., we talked about him. Brian Urlacher, great with the Chicago Bears. I mean, he was a beast in his time.
Yes, he was.
For a franchise that's also synonymous with Hall of Fame linebackers.
That's right.
Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary, all those guys from the late 80s Bears.
Yeah.
That's right. Urlacher's really the last of the great linebackers that I recall from Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can't think of anybody.
Not off the top of my head, but he's also been an 8-time Pro Bowler and was also a Defensive Player of the Year in 2005. So not as big as stats as Ray Lewis, but again, one of the best linebackers in the game.
First class professional.
Yep, he was definitely one of Lovie Smith's great linebackers on that defense. I mean, when Lovie was there,
right.
But he nonetheless big Hall of Fame class. NFL all seem pretty deserving. And we'll be talking about that, I'm sure, as we get into August when they're inducted.
And I don't want to interrupt you. Actually, I do want to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Let's not forget about Brian Dawkins, who played 13 of his 16 seasons with the Eagles, who, of course, just won the Super Bowl. How great was it for Brian Dawkins to get that knock on his door, find out that he's going to be a Hall of Famer? Actually, in Minnesota, he was there. And to not only see his team win the Super Bowl, but then to be a Hall of Fame candidate as well.
Big weekend.
And I didn't realize this. When I said they knock on their door, all the guys that got in, they were staying at a hotel in Minneapolis. And what the committee does is the president of the Hall of Fame goes to each of their doors and knocks on their door, and that's how they find out they're going to be a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
No kidding.
Which I had no idea.
Now, we talk about how great that is, but how about the guy who doesn't get in? And you sit there all day in your hotel room like, gosh, what time's check out? I think I'm going to have to get out of here.
I'm sure they may have a little inclination that something's coming, but
Maybe a different knock for them.
Yeah.
Hopefully so.
the secret knock.
That's not one they want, that's for sure. And, of course, big stuff happening today. The NBA trade deadline ending today at 3 o'clock p.m. Let's talk about some things that, one of the big subjects of a trade, it was LeBron James. And, of course, you got to wonder what LeBron's future is. LeBron is he in Cleveland for the long haul?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't even think Cleveland knows that right now. I'm not sure LeBron even knows that right now. There was some rumors, some talks that earlier this week he was going to opt out of his no trade clause, so he'd be free if the Cavs wanted to trade him. Absolutely saw that not happening. There's no way they're going to trade LeBron unless they just got, if they trade him to the Warriors, for instance, you'd have to give me Curry and Durant back, I would think. Some kind of crazy package like that
absolutely.
for anybody to trade for LeBron. You know, he's a free agent after this season. We'll have to wait and see. Cleveland's in a little bit of disarray in the season right now. They're not playing so well. Of course, you can chalk that up to the last couple of years where they kind of coast through the regular season, and then come playoff times, they turn it on. This year it kind of has a different feel, though. It doesn't really seem like the team's clicking. You know, they looked in a few places to make some trades. Nothing really came about it, really. But, you know, LeBron is going to decide. He could go to L.A., could go to, you know, could stay in Cleveland, could go to Golden State. That's the decision he'll obviously has to make with he and his family. But, you know, best player in the game, so anybody will want him.
Well, here's my question, okay? You know, I got a lot of frustration with LeBron, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel a lot better about LeBron if LeBron says what he said again today. He said yesterday that he is in Cleveland for the long haul, okay? Now, to me, long haul isn't the rest of this season.
Right.
All right? If he says that to the fans in Cleveland that welcomed him back with open arms when he came back and wrote that heartfelt letter about how much he loved Cleveland and wanted to spend the rest of his career in Cleveland, and then he ends up going to Los Angeles, don't you come back to Cleveland. Sorry thing. You know what I'm
Start
saying?
burning jerseys
Don't you
again.
come back to Cleveland? They're gonna burn. I mean, they're liable to mess you up this time. You know, because I mean, you can't write this letter about I want to raise my kids in Cleveland, and 5 years later you're gone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But that's
No.
possible. That could
yeah.
happen, and it's very likely that the Lakers are a spot that might happen with.
It very well.
I mean, is LeBron in Cleveland for the long haul?
Personally, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is this past year, of course, they lost to the Warriors. You know, they won the year before, but lost this year. Look, LeBron's trying to build his legacy, just like Jordan did. I mean, he's up there in that echelon. I think we can agree on that. So he wants to win championships. You know, he's kind of past making all-star teams and you know, some of the second-tier awards. Obviously, he wants an MVP award. But his game right now, getting up there in age, is to win a championship. So I think he's going to have to make the decision, you know, come summertime, where can I go where I can win a championship? And the Cavs may have to just deal with it.
And that's you know what, that's what gets me though.
I know.
That's the logic that we're gonna hear.
Uh-huh.
Well, I wanted to win a title again. Well, 5 years ago you wanted to bring a title to Cleveland, and you want to spend the rest of your career in Cleveland. And so what you end up, what that's telling me, I think you're right. I don't think he's going to stay in Cleveland. I really don't. I think he lied to folks in Cleveland.
Well, I think in Cleveland they're hoping that he does stay because they ain't got a good football team.
Well, they sure don't. I was saying Cleveland got some hard luck. Okay, they won that one title, but Cleveland, if you're listening, that's the last thing that's going to happen in Cleveland good for a long time.
Well, by me being a LeBron James fan, for the long haul, I don't think so at this time because you're looking at, just like what Matt said, he's trying to build a legacy and trying to win more titles right now before he can go home. And we're looking at when it comes summertime, when the free agency hits, he's going to go to the best situation that would fix him to win a title. It could be Golden State, it could be the Lakers, or it can, you know, pretty much, you always going to look at dark horse teams. I know one period of time when he was going, before he went to Miami, they had a New York Knicks jersey on him. And I said, I can't see him in New York. I cannot really even see him in New York.
Very well could end up there, though.
Yeah,
It could.
sure,
That's
yeah.
possible.
Possible, but if the money is right and the best situation is there. But we're looking at it right now is the team's not playing very well, and we just got word on yesterday that Coach Lue is still remaining as the head coach, despite the struggles and whatnot have you. But we know as the history of Cleveland, as long as LeBron been there, regular season they pretty much dominate, whatever the case may be, in the same way in the playoffs. But if for when it comes down to the NBA Finals, they kind of like it kind of push comes to shove. It's going for desperate time, call for desperate measures. So they're gonna win by any means necessary.
Talking about the Cavs.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the way they're playing right now,
No.
they'll be lucky if they make the playoffs.
Yes, because and as far as seeding wise, they pretty low.
Yeah, and maybe not lucky they'll make the playoffs, but when they do, if they keep it up, they're not going to be in the position they need to be come playoff time.
If they're not careful, they're gonna not only miss out on the first seed, but they could have missed out on the number 2 or maybe even number
or not
3.
have
Yeah,
home
'cause
court.
you,
Yeah,
yeah, because you're looking at Boston and Toronto is doing very well.
yeah.
And they fighting for Eastern Conference supremacy.
And I'm glad you brought up Boston. I think one of the things that may have changed LeBron's mind was trading Kyrie Irving.
Yes,
that
yeah.
I know Kyrie didn't necessarily want to be there, wanted to be his own man in a different city, and they were able to appease him. But from what I've read, LeBron was not happy about that.
Well, and you talking about LeBron. Okay, everybody here agrees that LeBron is the best basketball talent in the NBA today. Can we agree with that?
Yes.
All right. So my thing I hear everybody saying here on this panel is that LeBron's going to do what's best for LeBron, and that's why I don't like LeBron. Okay, I mean I hear you like LeBron, but I mean doesn't it bother you that this guy doesn't he sells the city of Cleveland? Oh, I'm coming back, and he might pull out. And if he doesn't, I'm gonna change my whole opinion. If LeBron stays the rest of his career in Cleveland, I'm gonna say, you know what? He was honest.
I'm actually not mad at him if he does. I'm
Really?
going to go the other way, yeah. And the reason I say this is when Kevin Durant did the same
I gotta
thing.
adjust myself. I'm gonna tell you, I'm hot over this.
When Kevin Durant did this same thing a couple years ago and went to Golden State. People in Oklahoma City, basically swore him off. That may be what happens with LeBron if he leaves Cleveland. But I have no problem with a guy wanting to win a championship. If you're in a situation where you look around at your team and you realize it's not going to be here, why are we going to fault the guy for wanting to win a championship? Isn't that the goal when you get into the game is to win?
And see, my problem with LeBron and that mentality is that there was a point in not just the game, but in sports. Y'all might disagree. Go ahead and tell me if you do, okay? But there was a point in sports where you wanted to win with your team, not just run to the team that could win. And the NBA is the worst league in professional sports now for people saying, not the worst league, but it's the worst league in professional sports for this, where people say, I want to win a title, so I'm going to leave my current situation. Instead of making them winners, I'm going to go somewhere else. And LeBron James, the best player in the game today, is case in point. I mean, they're all running to either Golden State or Cleveland. You want to know why we see Golden State and Cleveland in the finals every year? It's because they're the two teams people are currently running to. At one point it was Miami. At one point it was Los Angeles. And look where we're at now. And it's very possible, even though Cleveland's not doing well, that we could still see that same matchup this year in the finals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All that being said, like I said earlier, if the guy wants to win, I'm not going to fault him for doing that. LeBron, though, is held, in my opinion, to a different standard than everybody below him. Because Cleveland drafted him, he's from Ohio, there was this halo over him that he was going to save the Cleveland Cavaliers. So when he left, of course they were upset, and I get that. But I don't see any other city where if a guy leaves, like he did in going to Miami, I don't see another city getting that upset about it. It happens. I don't see any other city, burning the jerseys. I know some do, but burning the jerseys and cursing this guy's name at the level that you see with LeBron. That's what comes with the territory that he's in. There's nothing he can do about it. But if I'm him, if I think my best shot is going to the Lakers or going to New York or staying put, that's what I'm going to do to make sure that by the time I get done, I have as many championships as possible.
And you got to look at it also, the NBA is also a business as well. So people are going to go find where the best situations are going to fit for them. So if they want to go win a championship, go win one. If you want more money, fine. If you want to explore other avenues but outside of basketball to get your name out there, that's fine.
And basketball only has 5 players on the court.
Yes.
That's the big difference too. Baseball has 9, football has 11 at any given time. So making these super teams, as they call them in the NBA, one of the reasons why they try to do that is because you can only have 5 guys on the court. So why not try to get the best 5 guys in the league and go win a championship?
Fair point, no doubt about that. Of course, we've talked about LeBron most of the time. Let's talk real quick. We can't talk too much about the trade deadline because, one, it's passed, and two, there's a lot to talk about. But we'll touch on a couple things. The Knicks ended up selling at the trade deadline, and one of the players they sold to Charlotte. Does this make Charlotte a better team, and does it make New York a better team?
Well, me personally, with Kristaps Porzingis tearing his ACL, being out for the rest of the year, probably had a lot to do with this trade. The Hornets ended up getting Willie Hernangomez. I think Hernangomez.
Your
I think you
guess is
pronounce
better
his
than
name.
mine, actually.
He's from overseas. We actually only gave up a guy I've never even heard of. I think he was like 15th on the bench. Johnny O'Brien, I believe his name was, and 2 future second-round picks. So for the Hornets, personally, I think it's a good deal. We can pair him up down low with Dwight Howard, pull down some rebounds.
Yep, and the Hornets could make a push here. I know we've got a lot. We're close to Charlotte, so we've got some Charlotte fans around here. People could, the Hornets could make a move. They're not out of reach of the 8th spot. And as you all well know, the Eastern Conference in the NBA is not always been real competitive on the back end of the seeding from your 5th to your 8th spot. Yeah. But quite frankly, the Western Conference isn't really.
It's been pretty dominant lately.
Yeah.
Both leagues are very top heavy, as they have been since all of these super teams started.
Yeah.
That's true, but that's a good point. We started seeing this with the Eastern Conference. It started, and now it's starting to happen in the West, and that is truly indicative of super teams coming together.
Yeah, and even when it comes to the All-Star teams that they picked a couple weeks ago. Somebody like Carmelo Anthony with the Thunder now wasn't even on the list. Probably would have been if he was in the East. There's been a couple other guys that Paul George, for instance, that went from Indianapolis or the Pacers to the Thunder. I think he may have been a bench guy, but in the East he'd probably be starting. So it just kind of shows you the discrepancy between, I don't think talent's the right word, but the amount of talent in the West as opposed to the East.
Or usually like Al Horford, who used to go every year when he was playing for the Knicks. Now he's with the Celtics. Yep. That's kind of it's getting more now. It's getting more competitive.
Right. And Horford now for the Celtics is like a third or fourth scorer, whereas he was responsible for putting up more points in New York.
Yep.
And when he was in Atlanta too as well.
Oh yeah, especially in Atlanta. You're right.
Well, you one thing before we go to break that you were talking about is how. Cleveland, how Cleveland is, they'll burn the jerseys if LeBron leaves. And look, let's be honest, it's because Cleveland really hadn't had a lot going on good for Cleveland in the last 50 years. So I'd be pretty hot too if something happened where my best thing going for us pulls out of town, because you sure ain't gonna get no wins with the Browns. But anyway, folks, Russell's sitting over here like, when are we gonna talk about National Signing Day? Folks, the good news for you is coming up right after these messages. You're watching and listening to the RO Sports Show right here on Facebook, RichmondObserver.com, the YouTube channel, and the Classic Rock.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, McNair is the name you can trust.
Family Pharmacy is a local pharmacy that's been in business in Rockingham for over 10 years. Located in the Food Lion Shopping Center on US 1 North, we have easy access into the store and a drive-thru for your convenience as well. You can download the official Family Pharmacy app at myfamilypharmacy.com, and we'll help you set it up to text you when your prescription is ready, and you can even set it up to fill your prescriptions when due. Our motto is we'll treat you like family, and it's something we truly mean. We take the same care in filling your prescription that we would take for our own family. Family Pharmacy, we'll treat you like family. Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health of the Carolinas, and tonight also by McNair Auto Sales, and we welcome you back. Had a good show so far, had a good time talking to you guys. I can make this a regular thing every night. Look,
every night.
I don't know about every night. I don't want to see y'all that.
I don't know if I can handle all that.
I can't do it either.
No, you do the most work. I mean, let's talk about this guy for a second. He puts all this together, and he even built this beautiful brick wall behind us. We certainly appreciate that. Yeah.
My bare hands.
Yeah, I'm having to get bare hands. He's done a fine job. So let's talk a little bit now about what we're talking about. UNC and Duke, not yet.
National Signing Day.
Thank you, National Signing Day. I'm just ready to tear him up over UNC. I wanted to skip over it, but National Signing Day, yesterday, big day in college football, and Georgia was the big winner. Russell, I want to hear you chime in on this. For the last 7 years, Alabama has won Signing Day, if you will.
Yep.
And now Georgia on top. What does this mean for the Crimson Tide moving forward?
Well, I don't think it's going to hurt them as much, but I think it's going to certainly help Georgia a lot more. I think they're going to excel a lot more. I think Kirby Smart I think a lot of players, when they look if they're going to choose between Alabama and Georgia, they're looking at Georgia as a lot more potential to play more, because Alabama got more of an established team already, so they're not really looking for a new player. But Georgia, Kirby Smart's back at his alma mater. He's able to show that he can build his program. He's 2 years being there, and he's put them in national championship spotlight. And so players look at that and they're thinking, well, we can go out there and win and even beat the team, which is Alabama.
Right there, it's the difference in the NBA and college football. In NBA, they'd all be saying, gosh, can we please go play for Alabama? We want to win a championship. Yeah. And, of course, college football, they're like, I want to beat those guys. But unless Georgia did start well today, and, of course, who knows if that'll be indicative of a title, but they were this close this year, they certainly could have
you
a
give them
shot
5 years. I think they're going to win 2 of the next 5 championships.
So how long does the Crimson Tide's stronghold on the SEC continue? I mean, do you think that the Tide, no pun intended, changes now?
I like that pun, by the way.
I don't think you liked it that much. I think you know there's a day coming where the Crimson Tide ain't going to be the Crimson Tide anymore.
Well, I hope I'm long gone by then. But no, obviously one day Nick Saban can't be around forever. That'd be nice if he could. Maybe they'll put him in a cryopod or something.
Oh man, it's gonna happen.
But yeah, one day it's gonna happen. Especially this season's gonna be a little bit more difficult coming up because they lost their offensive coordinator to Tennessee. I think that's gonna change up a lot. But then again, I mean, they did lose Lane Kiffin a couple of years ago, and they did just fine without him. So I think Nick Saban's got a lot more up his sleeve than he's letting on. And I don't think he showed Kirby Smart everything, but I think Kirby Smart has learned enough to build off his own program here and to build his own dynasty.
So, what's your take, Matt?
I was just going to say that as we were talking about earlier with the Patriots, as long as Nick Saban is there, Alabama's not going anywhere. They may lose coordinators. They may lose 6 or 7 guys to the NFL draft. But as we know, they've just got another 4 or 5-star guy right behind them ready to step up. Yes, Saban's days are numbered because you obviously can't do this forever, but as long as he's there, the Crimson Tide aren't going anywhere. But it will be interesting to see with Georgia starting to get up there in the recruits and being number 1 this year, how that's going to affect the SEC, because I'm assuming both of them are going to be slated to finish first in their respective divisions and meet each other. Of course, we said that probably this last year, and Auburn proved us all wrong, so who knows? I just want to throw this out there that Georgia actually has 16 ESPN 300 commitments this year, so it's the most in the country.
Sure. Of course, I was looking at the ACC rankings, a lot of ACC fans in our area, and North Carolina State was ranked number 6 in the ACC for recruiting. Number 7 was the UNC Tar Heels. But understandably, the number 1 team in the Atlantic Coast Conference was Clemson. Does this mean that Clemson is probably going to have the stronghold on football in the ACC for some time?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was just going to say, Clemson's the same way. Dabo's built that program up, in my opinion, up to the upper echelon of the game, like Urban Meyer at Ohio State, like Nick Saban in Alabama. To where as long as he's there, the program's going to be successful. There's always going to be guys to take other guys' spots, whether it be on the sideline or on the field. Clemson was 5th overall in recruiting this year, and they're not going anywhere. They're a great team. They were just in the football playoff this last year.
Yeah.
And another thing too, Clemson, Dabo Swinney, and Kirby Smart are both built by Bama.
You just had to throw that in there.
I did.
I've seen somebody so
Roll
wrapped
Tide.
up in Alabama. Jeremy, you had something you wanted to add in?
Let's go back to we're looking at Nick Saban in Alabama. Roll Tide, national champions. Yes. We're looking at a team that's already been established, been built by Nick Saban. He's a genius. He's a pure genius.
Can we stop loving all that? Good gracious, about to puke right here on television.
And we're looking at teams already been built, established, what not have you, and long as, like Matt said, long as you have Nick Saban calling the shots, I can see Alabama continue to win multiple championships and compete at a high level. We're looking at Georgia, same Kirby Smart, who was just in a national championship, just built the team. And we're looking at SEC, probably one of the strongest conferences when it comes to football. So you're looking at it's always going to be highly competitive.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to add in also in the ACC, Miami was 7th overall in the country in recruiting
Okay.
this year. So Miami's another program that's starting to build up
Yeah.
back to what we remember with the U. Bama and Georgia signed the top 2 remaining recruits today, but I do want to throw out there for my Tar Heel fans that we actually picked up the number 53 overall recruit, offensive guard William Barnes, who out of the remaining people that were left was probably about 6th or 7th. So we got one guy up there towards the top, and we've also picked up a couple other recruits. So we're a basketball school first, but football, we're trying to see what Larry Fedora is going to do. He may be running out of years if we don't get it together.
Yeah,
but
I think he's running out of year.
we'll have to wait and
if
see.
he
Yeah,
doesn't get
because-
it. Hey, look, Matt thinks we got Carolina fans watching this show. But anyway, he thinks he's talking to y'all. But while we're on Carolina, let's just go ahead and get down and dirty, okay? Yesterday morning on Good Morning Sandhills, we talked about the new rankings. I guess this was 2 days ago, but we talked about the new rankings for basketball, all right? Now, somebody help me here, okay? Somebody help explain to me why there's only one 7-loss team in the top 25, and they're ranked number 21 after 2 losses. They didn't even win last week. All right, they didn't even win last week. What to beat? Wait, to beat Pitt.
beat Pitt by
Excuse
about
me,
30.
I apologize. Yeah, they beat Pitt. Let's give a hand. All right, so here's the thing. All right, they beat Pitt, lost to State, okay? Lost to State and they lost to Clemson, okay? Both good teams, no doubt about that. They fall 2 spots. Now, Matt, you wearing the Tar Heels colors tonight, so you came in here with that on. I want to know how the polls can have UNC ranked with 7 losses, first off above 4 teams with fewer losses, and they lost 2 games last week. They're still ranked. I mean, somebody help me out here.
Well, my first argument is going to be because we are North Carolina, and we get a lot of respect in the polls.
I agree with that.
And we are the defending national champions.
Yeah.
Also that, and we've played what turns out to be a rather tough schedule. Now, with all that being said, no, we have. All you have to do is take a look at the teams we beat. We beat Tennessee. We beat Clemson at one point.
That's true.
Of course, the Wofford loss was terrible, but
We don't want to talk about that one today.
every once in a while that happens. But with Alabama in football, when they lose, obviously you can't lose but so many games in football still be involved. But when Alabama if they're, one of the top programs in the country and they lose a game, how far do they fall? Maybe 2 or 3 spots?
No, I agree.
To me, it's the same equivalent.
Yeah.
Our program has been so successful over the years, much like the Crimson Tide, that we get that respect in the polls. Do some people not like it? Obviously. But us as Carolina fans, we know that every year we're probably going to have a good team.
Yes.
It's going to make the tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that the people that vote on it know that too. And that's one of the reasons why we're the only 7-loss team in the polls.
Oh, I could not agree more with what you just said. Now, I see it as a negative. You
Right.
know? I think you're right. I mean, and it is what it is. I'm so glad to hear you say that because now I'm like, well, I can't get on them too hard because you make a good point. But Carolina's there because Carolina's Carolina, and I agree. And that frustrates me as a non-Carolina fan, but that is true. And that's why Alabama is ranked as high as they are every year,
Right.
and they don't fall when they lose.
And within this season that we're in right now in college basketball, Kansas has had a couple of losing streaks. Kentucky just now got back into the top 25. Teams that are what we call blue bloods of the sport, teams that can afford to lose a few games and not have to worry about dropping out of the polls. Long story short, though, at the end of the season, these polls don't mean a thing as far as seeding, maybe if you're a top seed. But besides that, anybody can win March Madness. So,
Yes.
it's all about bragging rights, I guess,
Yeah.
during the regular
Well,
season.
I agree with you because the rankings in college football, if you're not ranked properly in college football, you will suffer.
You're done.
Yeah. Yes.
You're done, and it can make or break your season. In college basketball, you're certainly right. Really, it carries no notoriety other than maybe seeding.
Right.
But you can win in the tournament. Anybody can win the tournament. UNC and Duke play tonight. Obviously, that carries a lot of weight in this area. The Tar Heels and the Blue Devils. And, of course, as a state fan, I forgot who the guy was, but there's a player, Williams maybe,
For
Tar Heels,
Kenny Williams.
Kenny Williams,
Yeah.
who came out and said that he doesn't see the Carolina and State game as a rivalry game because they've beat us so many times in years past. I mean, I could have said nothing that made me sicker when I read that. But anyway, we will get our shot at the Tar Heels this weekend. But tonight, Duke will play the Tar Heels. You got to wonder, the Duke's ranked number 9 in the country right now. The Tar Heels ranked number 21. Who wins this game? Russell, we'll start with you.
I think Duke's going to get that one. They've got a hot streak going on right now. They're at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, Tar Heels just can't find nothing. And no offense to your team, but I mean they're just not good this year.
Yes, I agree. Sorry, is what they are. No. But Jeremy, what do you think?
The Tar Heels going to win the game.
Really?
Yes.
You Tar Heel basketball fan too?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Who picked these people?
Let me tell
That's
you.
why he sat over here. So now we're
I was
divided.
saying, I didn't understand. This has naturally happened. It's like we gravitated here tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe the Tar Heels will win tonight because I think as time progresses, they're gonna find some identity, trying to find who can lead the team, what not have you. And I think they gonna show up and show out against Duke because a lot of times this is one of the most rivalries games in all of basketball.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those games where both teams will play at a high level. When push comes to shove, I would love to see the Tar Heels beat the Duke Blue Devils.
Matt, who you got winning this game tonight? Well, first off, tell us, are you using your heart or your head?
Both.
Okay. Well, we know where he's at.
Actually, I want to ask you a question real quick. As a State fan in this game, who do State fans pull for?
Duke.
Do you?
Now, let me tell you, no doubt. No doubt.
See, when you guys play each other, I pull for State.
We appreciate that.
You know, for us,
we don't stoop that low.
It's never Duke, never ever Duke.
See, we see Carolina that way. George, he's a frequent call in on the Good Morning. I'm sitting here struggling with the name of the show. Good Morning Sandhills, and he called in the other day and tells us a story that back in the '70s, UNC played the Soviet Union, like in the heart of the Cold War, and he pulled for the Soviet Union against Carolina. That is a State fan right there.
Right.
We don't pull for Carolina. We're pulling for Duke tonight. And anyway, so you got Carolina winning.
Obviously, I've got Carolina winning. Carolina's coming off a big win. I know it's over Pitt, who hadn't won a game in the ACC all year, but a 30-point win is a 30-point win. Duke's coming off a loss to unranked St. John's. In my opinion, that's going to play a little bit on your psyche. I know Coach K's there. He's the stabilizing factor. But Duke has a lot of young guys on their team.
Yes,
something that they've started doing over the last 5 or 6 years is getting a lot of those one-and-done guys. Marvin Bagley III being one of those, who I expect either way will have a monster game. But with all that being said, I still think in this rivalry, you can throw the records out the window. You can throw whatever's happened prior in this season out the window. When these two get together on Tobacco Road, it's always a close game. It's always a great game. It's usually a physical game. As we remember, Tyler Hansborough getting his nose broken. That was always one of the big moments from the rivalry.
That's right. Didn't you love it?
Or Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, and that's what I was going to say is we're going to have to stop Bagley from scoring. We're going to have to keep them from shooting three-pointers. Neither team is playing defense really well this year. I know the Tar Heels at one point were ranked close to 200th in the nation. Duke's probably not too far off of that. So I would expect a high-scoring game, but the deciding factor is it's in the Dean Dome, and that's going to be the thing I think that'll take us over the edge.
Yes.
You know, my heart tells me Duke. Because I just don't want Carolina to win. But a part of me just would love for Carolina to win that game and then come into PNC Arena on Saturday and get beat by the Wolfpack. I'm picking the Tar Heels to win this game. I think the Tar Heels get the job done tomorrow night.
So I'm the only one with Duke.
You know, that's exactly right. All right. Though, remember how Jeremy felt when he started the show. I mean, Jeremy was all smiles when he knew we were talking about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl first. So if you're right,
I'm looking forward to next week already.
Yep. Well, he's got Duke. The only one picking Duke. I'm trying to use my head here. I got the Tar Heels winning. I'm with you guys. But I will say this. Tar Heels, they sleep on Saturday. You heard it here first.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We will see. Matt, he takes it like a pro. I'm sitting here looking like that crazy conservative right wing guy that's lost his mind. He's over there all calm and everything. I have lost my mind. Hey, there's a reason North Carolina State's still talking about the 1983 title. We ain't done nothing since then.
I may seem calm now, but wait till later on tonight when the game's on. Then it's a whole different ball game.
That's right.
Yelling at the TV.
UNC and Duke tonight. 3 of us got the Tar Heels winning. If Duke wins, Russell's going to be a happy man next week. Folks, stay with us. We got more to talk about. We're talking about the Olympics, which kick off this week. Coming up right after these messages. Remember the RO Sports Show tonight brought to you by First Health of the Carolinas and McNair Auto Sales. Stay tuned. More RO Sports Show coming up right after this.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
With hospice, you guys just outdo yourselves every day. And I really appreciate it. I honest to God don't know what I would do if it weren't for you. The things that you do, I'm in approval of. And thank you. I don't know what else to say other than thank you.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health of the Carolinas and tonight, McNair Auto Sales. We appreciate our sponsors. And join us for this last segment, of course, is the original cast, the original team. They're here again tonight. Russell Parker, if you're just joining us, he specializes in college football, NASCAR. He's on Live at 5 a lot. Executive producer of Live at 5. Then we got Jeremy McKenzie and Matt Harrelson in studio. This is the cast of the RO Sports Show. Let's close the show tonight talking about the Olympics. The opening ceremony kicks off this Friday, Winter Olympics. I personally am a big fan of the Winter Olympics. Do y'all really care?
Well, I know I care.
Yeah.
The main reason I care is a sport called curling, which is very hard to describe. I don't even know if I could do it in words, but for anyone that hasn't seen it, they take this giant, what would you say, a disc almost?
I don't know what it is. It's like a big old bulky disc.
Yeah, but there's one person that kind of slides it down almost like they're bowling down a sheet of ice, and there are two other guys with brooms. This is a horrible description. With brooms in front of it, trying to change the speed and the trajectory of it, and basically turns into like the bar game shuffleboard where you're trying to knock them off or move them around, that kind of thing. So that's a sport within the Olympics that I'm very excited for. For some reason, I always get into it every 4 years.
I wonder what you have to do. Like, at what point in your life do you say, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a curler.
I'm going to be a curler. I found my passion.
At what point does that happen? It's got to happen at some point. But so how about you, Jeremy? You really care about it, or?
I do too. I do because for the Olympics, I've read for the basketball.
Okay, we asked the Summer Olympics, but I mean that ain't gonna happen right away. But I mean, but you like the Summer Olympics best then?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. See, I've always liked the Winter Olympics better. I'm a hockey fan. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a big Carolina Hurricanes fan. A big hockey fan. I'm excited this year because in the NHL, no players from the NHL are playing if they're on active rosters, are not playing in the Winter Olympics. So the United States hockey team is made up of a bunch of guys that may play in pro leagues elsewhere, like the KHL in Russia, or they may play in minor leagues here or what have you, but they're not NHL guys. And I'm kind of excited about seeing that because everybody's heard of the movie Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys in 1980 that beat the Soviets were nobodies. Mm-hmm. They weren't NHL players. They weren't pros. So I'm pretty excited to see our country represented by people who are just grateful to play.
Right. And another event that I'm excited for is called the Skeleton. That's where, and these guys are crazy that do this. They get on that very tiny sled and basically do the luge. And it's one of those that gives you this number. If they were to hit a crack in the ice, they'd probably be dead. But just the excitement of it, how fast they go. To me, that's kind of part of why I like watching it. So.
I like skiing. I actually went skiing this past weekend, and I took a tumble so hard. See, I had never been skiing, so you got the green slopes, which is the easy. The blue slopes, the medium, and then you got like black diamond. I ain't touched the black diamond. I wanted to live, but I did get on the blue for just a minute, and I was going so fast, y'all, that I got to this point where I said, okay, I'm gonna either have to fall and hope I'm alive, or I'm not going to live. so if I go any farther or any faster, I might not make it through this. So I better, so anyway. So I took a fall, and I hit my mouth so hard. The first thing I did was like, no. Okay, we're good. But anyway, I will say that skiing, I mean, all that sports like you talked about right then, like the luge, there's a lot of danger that comes in. Bobsledding. I mean, if something goes wrong, it can go really wrong really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of quick things I want to bring up. This year, I know that North and South Korea are combining on some teams, one of them being hockey, I believe, which I think right now in our country is something that's positive. They're able to walk in the opening ceremonies together and be able to be cohesive enough with tensions being like they are to form teams together. I think that's important for not only their countries, but for every other country in the world.
Yeah.
One other quick thing that I found interesting, tickets on StubHub right now are $747 just for the opening ceremonies. That's on average.
For the opening ceremony.
It's not counting getting over there. It's not counting room and board.
Jeremy and I, we're gonna stay here in Ellaby and Rockingham. We're gonna watch from afar. So,
but if anyone watching wants to go to the Olympics and correspond for us, that would be cool.
We would love for you to pay $700 and some dollars. So, or you could use your Richmond Observer press pass. I wonder if that would get you into the Olympics.
No harm in trying.
Yeah. We all went to the Super Bowl on it. I mean, so we had us a good time. But at any rate, Jeremy had a little better time than the rest of us. But at any rate, anything else about the Olympics?
I enjoy the kind of like the figure skating stuff. That's pretty interesting for me to see like how they can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I could never do anything like that, but skating, I was never good at skating. So seeing somebody like doing something like that, I think is pretty cool.
And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the people from America, one of the names to watch, I guess, is Nathan Chen from America, of course. At the 2017 U.S. Championships, he became the first man to land 5 quadruple jumps in one performance. Wow. Now, I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it sounds difficult, and if no one else has done it, it must be impressive.
That must be. Well, the Winter Olympics kicking off this Friday. And, of course, going to be a good time. I'm excited about it. You only get to see it every 4 years. And, of course, 2 years from now, we get to see the Summer Olympics again. And but we'll see. It's going to be a good time.
And I think another thing that the Olympics does is it brings our country together.
Yeah.
Whether you're male, female, black, white, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. It gives you a chance to pull for America. And what's greater than that?
I agree.
There you go.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The United States hopefully will represent well in the Olympics this year. And a really neat story about the Koreas. We'll see how that pans out. Hopefully it pans out well. And lots going on. And, of course, we will be talking about it all, I'm sure, next week. And a ton more right here on the RO Sports Show. Before we wrap up, we're going to go have your last word for tonight's show. Anything you want to say, Russell?
Well, I want to congratulate the 2 Richmond Senior High School students who signed today on National Signing Day. One of them is going to Columbia. One's going to Pembroke, which is my college. So it'll be a lot of fun seeing him on the football field.
Yep, it was a National Signing Day yesterday. 2 signees from Richmond Senior High. That was a big deal. Jeremy?
Just like I said a little too earlier, congratulations to Philadelphia Eagles on winning the Super Bowl on this past Sunday. I also congratulate Dannell Ellaby for winning as well. We just want to say we pray for Godspeed and blessings upon you and your future endeavors. Thank you so very much for being here.
There it is, Chairman McKenzie, and then Matt Harrelson.
And I just want to piggyback off of what you were saying, Russell, about Dante Miller signing yesterday with Columbia University, going to the Ivy League to play football. One of his former teammates, Chase Coldhard, is signing with UNC Pembroke, an offensive lineman there. I was actually able to go and cover the signing yesterday at Richmond Senior inside their media center. And it was different than any other signing I've been to. Usually, they sit down, they sign it, they say a couple words, and then they take pictures. Dante got up there and started talking, and this thing turned into a motivational speech. There were a lot of his teammates there, a lot of his family members, a lot of his student classmates, a lot of the coaches were there. But just to close out my arguments here for the night, just a quote that he said that I thought was really cool. He said, "You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to be the tallest person. You don't have to be the fastest person. You just have to be the most hardworking person." And I thought that would really resonate with not only all the people I just mentioned, but anybody else that reads that or hears that.
Absolutely. That's a sharp young man. He's going places. No
is.
doubt about that. We get to play football at an Ivy League school. I mean, you're combining great D1 athletics with an excellent education that will stand the test of time. So, and then my last word, I just can't stand the Tar Heels. I had to say it one more time. It's about to kill me. I mean, he's over there glowing like a Tar Heel fan does. You know?
Oh, yeah,
It's, man, you leaning over there.
I'll tell you what, between this and Good Morning Sandhills, you guys talk an awful lot about Tar Heels. I'm starting to think you and George might be Tar Heel fans too.
Low key.
We're gonna end it right there before we get to fighting.
I mean, you might be thinking bad about them, but you're talking about them.
We said, and the thing is, Scott told us we ought to talk about tag team wrestling this week, but I don't think he thought we were going to get ourselves in a little tag team fight here. Hey, look, next week, join us. We're going to talk more sports. That's what we do here on the RO Sports Show. We've got the guys right here, from our sports team. And they are bringing the action to you every week, breaking down all the action in football. We're talking about football. We're talking about curling. We're talking about it all here on the RO Sports Show. And again, congratulations to the local signees yesterday at National Signing Day. And we will see you next week right here on Thursday nights, 5:30 p.m. right here on the Classic Rock. And you can watch us on demand anytime on our Richmond Observer Facebook page, the Classic Rock Facebook page, RichmondObserver.com, the RO app, Facebook channel. I mean, just for long, you could just watch this thing on ESPN maybe. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah,
Well, wouldn't be free then, though.
I was going to say, and I'll tell you something else, ESPN. If you want this right here, you're going to have to pay, folks. So long. We'll see you next week for more RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health of the Carolinas and McNair Auto Sales tonight. So long.